Welcome to Ecom Cowboy. This is D2C's daily show where advertising is good, ignorance is expensive, and the American dream is alive and well on the internet. Today, we're brought to you by Incense, Seguno, Postscript, and AMP, and we have got a jam-packed show to get into. The war is on, Claude is down, and you've probably spent the weekend monitoring the situation, but the question is, who is running your ads today? When Claude cannot? Burger King has debuted an all-seeing AI who is actually coaching their employees in real time over their headsets. I can't figure out if this is dystopian or really awesome. We're going to get into it. Andrew Faris and Ryan Dreyer will be joining the show. As always, I am joined by my partner in crime, Colin Doherty. Colin, get in here. Get inside this show.
Let's go.
A lot has happened over the weekend, my friend, and there's a lot to get into. Specifically, the war is on, Claude is not, and the timeline is in flames. We had a number of tweets over the weekend. This first one comes to us from Pirate Nation, and that is this morning. Claude is not working, and it's not working for many people, and this is may be due to the hit that Amazon's data center warehouse took in Dubai. As a result, we think of an Iran explosive. Now, Shireen had this to say on top of this, more in general regarding the situation. Buckle up. Roaz is about to get bad. I don't think that she's talking here just about Claude not being able to run your ads if you have set that up. I think she's meaning, hey, with greater uncertainty comes a peeling back of spending. But she did have a number of people in the comments who said, nay, we're still having our best weekend ever. David Herman had this to say, so you switched your media buying to Claude, but Claude is down. You know who isn't down? Me, David Herman. Always hands-on and ready to go. And then, of course, the memes were flying, and this came to us, Marco Rubio. He is now preparing to run Anthropic in addition to everything else that he is in charge of. Now, Colin, what is your take on this? Obviously, I was bragging to you all weekend about the many Claude automations I had set up that were going to do hither and thither for us, and then it didn't work this morning. But what's your take on this? Is this a speed bump that will be here and gone today? Or is this exposing a little bit, perhaps we've become way too reliant on AI as infrastructure, and when real world problems happen, not only does the world get turned upside down, but white collar work does as well.
Yeah. I mean, this is super important to still have that human in the loop aspect of things. You can't really just have your media buyer just be Claude, because you'd be down right now. And so we still are at the stage of AI where human approval should be involved in the loop of everything. I think this is a small hiccup in the larger scale that is Anthropic. I was trying to use Claude over the weekend. I was able to get in there. I was successfully able to use it. I tried to use it really early this morning. I was unable to use it. After about 30 minutes, back in using it completely fine. And so I think, again, this is already resolved, but you saw that Claude already reached the #1 download in the App Store over the weekend. And so I think there's probably a little bit of that there, where they're just dealing with so much volume as well of just brand new users. They also released, as a side, you can import all of your ChatGPT context history directly into Claude in 2 seconds, and then Claude is up and running with all of your previous context, basically making a quote unquote ChatGPT killer, which is really cool.
I thought it was also interesting, their release of the mobile-esque feature where one's Claude code and cowork can continue to operate while you're on your cell phone. I thought that was incredible. Excited about that. I've yet to do it myself. Test drive that baby, but I'm very interested in that. And we're not even touching on this point here, that there was this big pushback between Anthropic and the administration where officially Anthropic has been cast out, and now agencies inside of the government have about 6 months to get rid of using them altogether. OpenAI comes in and seals the deal while trying to give some public pushback at the same time. Very strange to me. I think what's more interesting to me in total is this kind of like Shireen's bringing up here, is this kind of uncertainty on the earth. We had what is being labeled as a terrorist attack here in Austin. Is this going to lead a drawback to spending, which obviously affects all of our livelihoods inside of e-commerce? I'm not sure that it is in the same way that war has in other times, and in other tragedies and uncertainties inside of the economy, simply because this one seems to be taking place altogether different than some of the conflicts have in the past. It's similar to Venezuela. You go in, the United States Army goes in, there are other countries involved, and it almost seems like the head has been cut off the snake, excuse the metaphor, inside of 48 hours. I'm not sure, like a number of people were in her comments saying, I'm not sure that it's going to lead to a mass disruption in selling and buying as other instances have in the past. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's going to be a blip in the road of the macro that is, macroeconomics for e-commerce. This is not going to affect it whatsoever, in my opinion. It's interesting that it happened over the weekend. There were probably I would say, some macroeconomic pushback within how that affected e-commerce during that time period. There's probably some effects there, but moving forward, I think it's going to be back to the normal bell curve of the growth that we see. So
it's interesting you mentioned the point too about Anthropic being cast out from the administration, so to
yeah,
speak. There was a big influx of downloads and popularity for them afterward. And Elon even mentioned that a number of the people who were overseeing AI or involved with AI inside of the Biden administration actually went to work with Anthropic afterward. Didn't know that. Thought that was very
yeah.
interesting. I don't see this as like a big landscape change inside of who's going to win. Is it Google? Is it Gemini? Is it Anthropic? Is it OpenAI? Is it Grok? I don't see this as a moment that drastically changes the landscape, but people have been theorizing, oh, now OpenAI is a big winner or Anthropic's taking a back seat. I think the game is still all out there on the table, and probably all of these companies succeed in their own ways at the end of the day.
Yeah, every company is just going to have that moment in time. Right now, Anthropic and Claude is having that moment, but it'll be interesting. I think there is a chance. There's been a rumor that they might have the ability to go back into the administration and actually
Okay.
replace. So it's not set in stone. And
That's it in stone.
it was really interesting that kind of when OpenAI got that, they started immediately taking shots at Anthropic, like kind of like a
They
yeah,
did.
we beat you, sorry about it. I think it's really interesting how OpenAI is like operating within this space where they feel comfortable taking shots at some of the biggest AI players in this space, like Google, Gemini. I just don't know why you would try to take shots at them. There's just so much money behind it. Anthropic, the actual, software and ability is super impressive. And so I think from a branding perspective, there's an interesting thing going on with OpenAI, Claude, and Gemini with who comes out as the Mac PC bad
Yeah.
player, good player type of thing in the space.
And I'm still waiting for them, regardless of what happens with the administration, I'm still waiting for them to roll out that kind of very dichotomous, very one, either this or you're that kind
Yeah.
of advertising, because I think it's such a great fit for them. They need to go
Yeah.
right into that Apple versus PC mode
Yeah.
and really have people identify more. Yes, I am a Claude user because I am fill in the blank, fill in the blank, fill in the blank, identity wise. They really need to play on that. And
Yeah.
we'll see what happens here over the next few months before our first guest, Andrew Faris, comes inside of the show, we need to talk about a brand new sponsor of the show that makes this thing happen. We're talking about incense, ladies and gentlemen. We all want better ads, don't we? Yeah, we do. Made by real humans. That'd be nice. That allow us to grow. But if we're being honest, we all know that this process is extremely disjointed. It is chasing creators, chasing UGC, manually negotiating usage rights, etc. It is a nightmare. Incense is the all-in-one UGC and influencer marketing platform that actually makes creative scalable inside of one place and space. You get a vetted creator marketplace, automated influencer outreach, built-in campaign management, and content that can be delivered to your inbox in as little as 14 days. This isn't about finding just a random TikTok that's going to work for you. This is about building real relationships with real human creators who are going to develop real creative assets that you can test and reuse and scale across your funnel. And if you don't have the bandwidth in-house to own this yourself, they actually have managed services that feel like they're hired inside and part of your internal team. You, my friend, should go to incense.pro right now and book a demo. Here's the great part. You can try it for free. Why not try it? Okay. We all know that AI is awesome, but we still need that human in the loop. We need, especially on the creative side, we need actual humans inside making great content that other humans are going to want and buy. Start scaling creator content that actually moves the needle. Go to incense.pro. Tell them Colin and I sent you. Many thanks for them being part of the show. Now, as we are bringing our good friend Andrew Faris inside of the show, I think that if you polled 1,000 D2C founders today and said, hey, who are you going to trust your growth and your ad account with? I think this guy would be on the Mount Rushmore. I think that he would belong there. He really, how I think of Andrew is that he is your favorite growth marketer's favorite growth marketer. That is how I think of him. And now we need him to get in here. CEO, founder of AJF Growth, Andrew Faris. Get in here, Andrew. Get in here.
Wow. I don't know where that phrase came from. And I sometimes think it's I think it's pretty wrong a lot of times. I think there's a lot of people who really pretty strongly disagree with me on some things.
No,
I don't know, man.
Yeah, it is. Andrew, this has been a long time coming. For those who don't know, when I needed some CMO coaching and mentorship inside of my life, there were two people that I reached out to. It was you and Taylor, and you cast me out and said, you're not a big deal enough for me. No, I'm kidding. We didn't get to end up working together. No. But, man, I am so glad that you are here on the show because, number one, obviously you're greatly respected. But number two, man, you are doing incredibly new, inspiring, and interesting things for me. Obviously, you've got your clients that you're working with at AJF Growth. You've got your background, CEO, 4x400, etc. Now you've got Patrick Coddou, founder, CEO at Supply, who has joined and is partnered with you at AJF. Man, I'd love to know motivation behind bringing him on, what it's been like him getting involved with the team, and what he brings to the table, just being an operator with his expertise at Supply, et cetera. What's that been like for you?
There's no way for me to answer this question too succinctly. So you guys need to have the freedom to just fully cut me off.
Come on, bring it on.
All right, there's a lot that goes into this. The first is there is no world in which AJF Growth was ever going to be able to grow beyond being a glorified freelancer thing. My team before was just a support for me as a freelancer and then kind of had a name. Because I am simply not good enough operationally. And that consideration was being made. If you think about what an agency is, right? An agency is operationalized knowledge. That's what it is. In two words, an agency is operationalized knowledge. Both of those things are super important. A lot of agencies go badly because they lack the knowledge. They actually don't have any distinct insight or replicable way of doing things because they don't have real point of view. It's like somebody who's like maybe reasonably talented or whatever, but they just kind of take on clients because there's a business model. I actually think that's probably where I'm strongest. I'm a very first principles thinker. I have point of view. I've spent a lot of time in the game. I have really clear ideas of what right and wrong is, what you should and shouldn't do. And of course, I'm probably wrong about some of them, but like, you know, I'm always kind of weighing those things at this sort of first principles level. A lot of people are sort of resist what they would call dogmatism in this space. I actually think dogmatism is extremely helpful for people because it helps them to make decisions repeatedly. So that knowledge component, I think I'm good at. The operationalized part is another place agencies go wrong all the time. Oof. And every operator who has ever told the story of, I talked to this person on the sales team who told me about all the things they would do, and then I actually got the service and it was very different from that. Yes. They're articulating that problem, which is that probably the sales team actually does have, you know, some knowledge set that is being passed down from a CEO or founder or whatever it is. And maybe they're actually talking to the CEO. That's the salesperson a lot of times. But the problem is the actual transition of that knowledge from one person to another is extremely, extremely hard. I have a huge amount of respect for people who can do that. And for me, I am not the person who can accomplish that. So as much as I love to be a teacher and, you know, I've been making podcast episodes for a long time, it's very hard for me to turn taught insights into replicable processes. And Patrick is super good at it. And we realized somewhere in the process that was a really good marriage of our stuff. Plus Patrick had been in the game so much that he understood it from the client perspective really, really well because he had built, launched, built, went on Shark Tank, did all the stuff, and then eventually sold for a really good exit. Supply is his company, which is a brand I actually loved even before I knew Patrick. Yeah. It was a beautiful, really cool brand, and did all that in an era. So he really understood the growth side of things, and he's a good marketer and all those things. At the same time, he isn't quite so in that lane like I am. The thing is, all of that was before AI. Like all that consideration was like, you know, when we were first talking, he was like, I could help you use ChatGPT to make some creative a little bit better. You know, it was like very, it's tiny little uses. Nobody was talking about vibe coding, right? And so now I actually think it's possible that AJF Growth would be dead without Patrick because it has changed so repeatedly and so fast because of the influence of AI that now I'm like, oh man, But Patrick was on it so fast that he's been able to build this. So really what Patrick is as a COO in my business is a guy who sits in vibe codes all day. And it's like really cool. I can say a lot more about it. So there's that. There's one other thing I want to say about this. A lot of times what I've said publicly about this is that I didn't really want to grow AJF Growth. The business was doing fine on its own. Glorified freelancer was fine with me. I'm not a super ambitious person. I don't care about building the biggest thing in the world. And so I would sort of say those things, but as Patrick and I started talking about where he was at in life, and as I was starting to metacognate about that position that I had and sort of analyze that, I realized that there's value in. I think sometimes I would say that thing to release myself from the accountability of doing something hard, and that actually wasn't serving me best as to be the kind of man I want to be in life, to offer most I can to my family, to my community, those kinds of things. And so for me, there became an interesting thing, which is like actually purposefully taking on the challenges of trying to grow a thing in ways that are stretching for me and hard for me was really beneficial. And then to be able to do that alongside a really high character, performing person who I actually want to be more like in life, because you spend a lot of time with your business partner. So I want to be more like Patrick. I think I'll be a better man if I'm more like Patrick. So that then creates this opportunity to sort of do these things and all that. And if we build a big company and make a lot of money in the process, then that'll be awesome too. But yeah, that's the way we're thinking about it.
Wow. Yeah. I'm taking a little bit off of that. I mean, you're talking about Andrew, and he's basically this vibe coding guy.
Patrick.
Patrick.
I'm Andrew.
Yeah. And I immediately got plugged into the scene in the social network where, you know, Mark Zuckerberg is plugged in and you're kind of telling people, no, he's locked in right now. Nobody touch him. That was playing in my head. You're like, no one's allowed to touch him.
It's so true.
What has he built out tangibly that you're allowed to share with people?
Sure.
Hey, this is something he's built out. It's basically revolutionized the business.
Yeah, there's really two ways that AI have had critical impacts at AJF Growth. The first one, the thing I've talked about the most publicly, people who have followed my content have heard me or Patrick talk about Prometheus, which was his name before Bezos named a company Prometheus. Was our creative co-writer, and that's the way I've always talked about it. Which is like this is sort of the most obvious place for AI in the beginning of this, which is like using AI to write copy for you. But it actually, Prometheus became a much bigger thing very fast, though it's still really central to what we do, which is like we work really carefully to integrate clients, proprietary information, their product info, their customer info, any avatars they've made, any of that kind of stuff into a set of files that are really carefully and well organized. This is a really important part of this. And actually, Patrick understands it, way better than I do, but that have real thoughtfulness about the information architecture to give to the LLM to then allow us to generate ad creative briefs at scale, including scripts and ad copy and things like that, which then get looked at and certainly touched, edited by humans. But that becomes this generation tool for us. And for us, what we believe about ad creative is that, and again, this is like a perfect illustration of the operationalized knowledge thing. I have a particular perspective on ad creative, which is that the message is what moves the needle. For you to sell anything to anybody, you have to, I'm going to use the word convince, but that sounds more rational than I mean it to sound. You have to move somebody. Let's say you have to move somebody, and messages move somebody. And messages, creative starts with words. It starts with it, before you can ever communicate something clearly, you have to be able to put words to it.
Yeah.
And so the message is this sort of core central unit of a piece of creative that I believe is the most important thing for selling products. And that's true as much for an apparel business, actually, for a fashion business, as it is for a supplement business with an hour-long, what do they call those? VSL, right? Yeah, right. So now they do that really differently. But there is a message that's being communicated, and sometimes it's more visual or whatever. But it all starts with being able to articulate what that message is. So an LLM that can spit out words and can do that in centralized ways consistently is a super powerful tool for that. So that's a big part of it. Yeah. Then we have taken that and done a second thing, which is what Patrick has called AJF OS, which is essentially a custom built software platform. It's actually insane. Patrick knows zero. He has looked at 0 lines of code, and it's like our own version of Notion or something like that, except that it's custom built for us. And that's actually, the Notion comp is a good one, because when you think about public software like Notion or Asana or whatever, what you have to do is take this thing built to be able to be workable for a very wide range of businesses, and then customize it to your business. And what we do is, instead with AJF OS, we're saying, like, what if we actually start with the custom and then add on little things that we've seen in other pieces of software, like, oh, that's a nice to-do list over there, we can add that really easy. And so, our creative process, which has all these weird little touch points and all these details. Today we were in a meeting and I was talking about, like, we need to be able to have it so that when we develop a message, it automatically spits out the copy for Meta, like that Meta headline and stuff like that. That's in the ad, right? There's a really particular way that goes, and that needs to get to somebody who's building the ads, and they're probably building the ads through an ad launcher. And so eventually that can happen agentically and blah, blah, blah. So all of these things. So the OS, the idea is to smooth out the process of our work so much, and also the way that clients interact with our work, so they have a really clear way to do things, that it becomes more operationalized and easier, and then the humans can do human stuff. So that's those two things have been really critical, and it's been it's awesome. I mean, in 6 months, it's going to be crazy what AJF Growth looks like, because every week there's new stuff that Patrick is doing. I'll open up AJF OS and be like, what? Like, how did we do that yesterday? It's insanity.
I think that is great to hear for everybody inside of the agency space, just because it gives window into what's possible and what can speed work processes right now while maintaining and increasing quality at the same time with humans in the loop. Give me your perspective on the brand side. I've heard you talk about this a little bit, and I think similarly, the margin opportunity, I think it's the same on the agency side, but margin opportunity inside of brands is to be able to do more with the same or fewer headcount. And that's very simply creating opportunity or margin where it did not exist before. Are you seeing that on the brand side with people that you work with, et cetera?
I don't know if I am yet, but I think I will. It's interesting to think about, like, so I released a podcast about this today, actually. So if you just go search Andrew Faris, or I think it's ajfgrowth.com/podcast, you can find it sort of anywhere there. ajfgrowth.com/podcast. But this is becoming one of my theories about how the space is developing. I'm almost hesitant to share it, because it's like, I feel like it's like the closest thing to like a real business insight at the macro level I've ever had. Like all of my stuff is like how ads work, But okay, here's the theory. I'll just lay it out. You guys tell me if this is wrong. All right. The theory is the theory is margin. If AI is a giant margin creator, okay, if that's what it is in some ways, well, who does the margin accrue to? And if you ask anybody around right now, there's two kinds of businesses that seem to be at the most risk of having their margin get really at least reconsidered completely, maybe hurt. And that's service businesses and SaaS businesses. And it's service businesses because agents can do the work better than, and so maybe now you can like hire, you just use agents instead of people. And as much as you can hire less, that's nice. Well, then the clients can expect to pay less. So you have to, whatever. And then SaaS businesses, of course, for all the reasons I just said, why go buy Notion if I can build a custom version of it in however long? Now, this is an extremely expensive Notion. Patrick is an executive person who spends hours and hours building all whatever. So it's not actually a cheap thing, but anyway, there's a really positive AI case for both of those businesses too. Okay. So just to be clear, I'm not saying this is necessarily what's going to happen with service and SaaS. There's also worlds in which it creates so much efficiency for those kinds of businesses that it actually adds a bunch of margin to them. But let's say the negative happens for both of those for a second. Who does that margin accrue to? Well, either in the form of increased productivity from your software companies and your service businesses, or reduced costs. In each of those cases, those are B2B businesses serving D2C brands, okay? At least in our space, D2C brands. So that means the brand either gets more productivity for the dollar or less cost for the same productivity. In both of those cases, the margin is accruing to the brand at some point, right? And the interesting thing about that to me is that D2C brands are already the core thing that makes D2C work. The thing that's the most compelling about the model, in some ways, is the ability to run a very low OpEx as a percentage of revenue.
That'd be nice.
Yeah, you should be able to run any, let's call it $8 million plus D2C brand, give or take. Don't hold me to that number. At 15% or less OpEx. Okay. Yeah. If you can, and if it's now, I think with AI and offshoring both, you can actually get that number down possibly to like 7% or something like that, and you can do that in one or two ways. One of them is the revenue goes up a whole bunch because you get better services for the same cost. So you get more productivity applied to your business, or you reduce your costs a whole bunch. So I don't know exactly how it'll look, but I think it's interesting. And at the same time, what I also don't think is that the consumer on the end of your D2C process is going to go, well, where's my margin in that equation? I think price is going to signal value to the consumer at the end of the day. So if I'm selling something that costs $100 to the customer, I don't think the customer's going to be like, hey, you ran your OpEx with AI. I know you have more margin than that. You should only charge me 90.
No.
The customer's going to be like 100 is what it costs. So if you can actually hold the same gross margin profile to the customer, but actually your cost at your OpEx level is lower, then suddenly that opens up margin space in a D2C brand. That's theory. Now that also might open up a whole bunch of competition, and then that ships it back away. I don't know, but yeah, that's the thought.
I fully agree, and I'll tell you why. I'm seeing it happen right now. Yeah, and I can reference, probably less than, I'll call it one hand. Call it on one hand, but there are several people right now who I know that are mid seven figures that are reducing headcount even further, accomplishing more. Now they're unique people, like you referenced with Patrick. They're unique, but the one-man brand, so to speak, is totally possible. And being able to execute that in a winsome way, it means more margins at the end of the day and more ability to scale.
I don't actually think most brands should try to do that yet at that level. I think you're right. There's sort of these super outlier people like this who have a combination of incredibly deep domain expertise.
Yes.
And that's so critical. People they're like, oh, the agent can just do it all. The problem is the agent doesn't have point of view. It knows. I mean, you could sort of try to go give it Taylor Holiday, and I talked about this on a recent podcast episode. Somebody made a Taylor Holiday agent and just asked it its questions all the time, except that Taylor's opinions change and the market changes. And so it's really hard to so you could give tell your agent to be Taylor and go do it for you, whatever. But I just don't think that's quite going to work for most brands. I mean, at least not today, maybe in a little while. But I agree with you, Chris. I think you're going to see some folks who are going to be able to start doing some of that, and there'll be levels of it. So.
Wow.
Go ahead, Colin.
Well, I was just going to say, the concern with me in our space is I think a lot of advice out there is for the brand owner doing $50, $75 million. That's kind of how the high level conversations are. For that person that's doing $10 to $25 million, what should their key focus be in the next 6 months? A lot of it has to do maybe with AI, but how is this person going to graduate from that kind of range and go to the big boys, turn into the next Sean Frank, etc.?
Yeah. So this is the other thing in this whole conversation that's weird is I don't think they should do almost anything different right away. And what I mean is they should look at their business every day and think about all the same stuff. Okay, because I think the margin advantage is going to accrue to people who have great point of view on building a great business. The thing that I think is most important for them is to hold every dollar of their ad spend accountable to create a positive return. The stuff that we've been saying for a very long time. There's still just so much wasted money in the ad world that is just like killing it's just producing negative returns in your business. And it makes me crazy to watch. It's like if brands spent, if an operator right now, so many people, whoever's watching, listening to this, if they took 5 days off, 1 week of even looking at AI, okay, and they just went through and looked at their ad spend and said, am I sure this is producing a positive return? They would like get so much value out of that 1 week. And so doing that, right? Having a clear P&L strategy, having a clear financial roadmap in their business. Here's the payoff for AI. The payoff for AI is if you can do those things, you can get a lot of clarity to a P&L strategy that makes sense and a forecast that makes sense, and being smart about making sure the largest line item in your business, which is your meta ad spend, is actually producing a positive return. If you can be smart about those, you can keep hammering your supply chain, etc. What will happen is that you will grow in some time. And by the way, there are probably AI tools that can help you with all those things. Okay. But now you're not saying, how do I get good at AI? You're saying, how do I build a great business? And using some AI to support you. Then over time, you may end up looking around and going like, you know what would really help is having like an AI engineer somewhere on my team. And now you've got the margin space to do it. And critically, you have a roadmap that you're actually trying to accomplish, like in a financial vision for your business, that person can be applied against, just like you would apply against any other employee. If you looked at it and said okay, I'm trying to go from 10 to 20 over the next 2 years. Okay, that means I really need to bring in an internal head of growth or CMO or whatever you want to call the person, right? You would still give that person an expectation if you manage them well. You would say you're accountable to create this amount of growth or whatever it is, right? And you would apply that person towards that kind of outcome. And that's what I'm saying you should do with an AI thing too. Say like, hey, I'm trying to go from 10 to 20.
Yeah.
Okay, I think an AI engineer would really help with this across my business. Here's probably how I set it up. Here's the constraints that I'm going to hold. This is the OpEx number. This is the CAC numbers. This is what I'm trying to do at the product development level. Here's supply, whatever. So that's what I think. Start with the goal of what makes a great D2C business. Get as clear as you possibly can, because as other people who are smarter than me have pointed out, the AI, it takes you as long today to understand something as it ever did, whether or not AI is on your team or not. And so what I mean is the operator has to internalize what a great D2C business actually looks like at the financial and sort of subjective level, right? Like product, brand, etc. And if you can start there, everything can fall into line behind that. So that's probably what I would tell them today.
Andrew, you were dropping heat there. We touched a nerve. You need to go back and look at that ad manager. You need to get inside of there, make sure all those dollars are generating a positive return. That's good.
I just look at too many places where there's just like hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of dollars wasted. And it's like, goodness gracious, your business, whatever happens with AI, it would be nice to have those dollars back in your pocket.
Yeah, absolutely. It would. Andrew, man, before you go, and man, we really appreciate you taking the time and joining the show.
Yeah,
you've got to tell us about this brand that I have heard of that is rolling out here at some point. Maybe it's already out there. I don't know.
It's not.
I think there is, there's an argument to be made. Andrew, you're incredible at what you do, man. And now you've got Patrick in the boat, and you guys can just keep doing what you're doing, serving and picking and choosing exactly who you want to work with. And tell me about why you're rolling out this brand and what you're excited about it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. The brand's called Resolute. So the timeline on the brand is that I have 1,000 boxes of what we're calling discovery kits or discovery sets at my business partner for that business's house in Orange County. Right now, we're waiting on some testing and things like that. I think I have here. This is the packaging. This is the packaging for it.
Oh, that's
So
cool.
Look at that.
Yeah, there you go. That's that. And then I have a sample right here. So this is the product itself. And that's just a sample of it. So it won't actually come in this packaging. That's just from the manufacturer.
And this is
that
cologne or it's
goop,
lip balm or what is it?
I'm going to tell you in a second. So that goop will go into here. Okay.
Nice.
You buy this. Okay. And then you take this out and it'll be a refill pack. Okay. There we go.
Love
there you
it.
go. All right.
I love that.
It is cologne. It's solid cologne. So, so the idea is that it's like genius idea. Sell something on the internet that you have to smell to divide.
Perfect.
My friend Kelsey Larrick at 365 Holdings has like endlessly mocked me for this. Patrick thinks it's a terrible idea too. And Patrick's been in the men's CPG game, so I probably ought to listen to him. But yeah. So, okay, I'll say a few things about it. One of them is that it was an interesting thing. It's been an interesting, like a bunch of years ago, my friend Keith Knapp, shout out Keith, and the off chance he's watching this, sent me a little tiny sample because he had this idea in mind of like making a solid cologne business. I'd never heard of the category of solid cologne. Most people haven't. Have you guys ever heard of solid cologne before this? Or
No.
before? No. Yeah.
No.
Almost nobody has.
Outside of you and Eric. Outside of you and Eric, I have not heard
Yes,
of
Eric and Beard Brand launched one too. So there's a lot to say, but so the biggest win for this company would be is to get my business partner in that business. His name is Greg, he's an old friend of mine, to be able to quit his job and run that business full time. That's like that's as big as it needs to get for us to feel great, because we've just wanted to work on something together for a very long time. But there's actually a lot of things I really love about it. So I have a long history. My origin story is in weird subcategories of large categories. I started at Kalo. So Kalo is a silicone wedding ring, which nobody had heard of at the time. It was like a brand new idea. And I love, like I said, subcategories and larger categories. So cologne is a huge category. There's billions of dollars of cologne sold every year in the US. Solid cologne is a very small category that almost nobody's ever heard of. Just like wedding rings and silicone wedding rings. And so I think you can take a tiny little piece of that big market where you can do something new and interesting in a way that's sort of compelling visually and some of that. At the same time, not having to introduce something to like a truly new category. They already have a category for it. So that's what I like about it. The other things that really grabbed me when I first saw the sample of it was if you think about this, shipping this little container, relative to shipping a glass bottle of liquid cologne. Yeah. It's as good as the gross margin is on liquid cologne, and it's like the best in the game. It goes away a lot when you do this core thing that people forget about D2C, which is that core to the model is last mile shipping, which is very expensive. And so you end up getting hit there. And then also the packaging is expensive. And if you have to protect glass in a packaging, it's like, there's also like shipping alcohol is flammable. So that creates challenges with things like that. So this little thing, the value to weight ratio would be really, really good on it. And so the logic to me is that you could charge a pretty good amount of money for a small thing like this that you chip for very cheap, and that creates margin opportunity at the gross margin level. And then there's also some LTV, probably not spectacular LTV, and then very, very good gross margin. It can also be natural and do some things that are interesting in the cologne category. So we'll see. It's a very side project. It's something that I can talk about publicly, like on my own content. I can't share numbers because I'm always talking about clients and things like that. So yeah. So we'll see if it ever works. We'll see if it gets off the ground. You got to test it. Right now we're in the testing phase because you're putting it on people's faces, and so you got to.
Yeah, I think it's gonna work.
So far, I put some on yesterday. You see any giant rashes or anything? I don't think so.
I don't see any. I don't see
need to
any.
shave with a supply razor because there's some bumps, but.
I can smell. There's something good coming through the screen. I can smell it.
It smells like high ROAS.
So two things. Number one, and that case is gold. Boy, that's nice. The clickiness of that thing, boy, that's nice. It's like a lighter. It reminds me of like one of those fancy lighters.
Yeah, that's definitely one of our ideas. That our hope is that people will kind of play with it. That's inspired by Fulton and Rourke, and those guys are really smart. Build a really great business. If you guys ever seen them, they've got spray cologne and solid. I think they move the most solid cologne of anybody. They do an awesome job. And they have a really, really slick little case like that too. But yeah, that was designed by my friend Robbie Aronson. I always want to shout him out too. Aronson Creative, I think, is his website. Aronson. Robbie's a killer. He like if somebody's building a brand and they want a really good brand designer who can do just everything like he designed that, and I think it's beautiful. It's real wood. It's real aluminum. It's really cool.
Nice.
Number two, the Kalo lore just continues to
I know.
grow. I mean, how many people were there? I mean,
Yeah.
it's like,
well, my co-founder in that business was from Kalo. Yeah, so my co-founder Resolute is from Kalo. Yeah, there were a lot of people who were involved in that. Cody Whittick started at Kalo.
Exactly.
There you go.
Yeah, great dude. Yeah. So yeah, there's a lot of us who were back there at some point.
There's going to be, I think, someday,
a lot of it's the Taylor coaching tree for sure.
Well, I think we may even dig up like a third kind of unknown holiday brother that was somehow there, just appeared out of thin air. Andrew, we appreciate you coming on the show and dropping the sauce like you did. Man, before you go, tell everybody where to go find you, follow you, and become a big brain Superman marketer like yourself.
Yeah, all of it's at ajfgrowth.com. And like I said, probably the easiest place to get my best stuff is ajfgrowth.com/podcast. That's the place I'm most consistently releasing content. And that's got links out to all the podcast feeds, at Andrew Faris podcast on YouTube. If you go search that background like that's there. Yeah, I think that's it. You can sign up for my email list. I won't spam you. I occasionally send a newsletter. I probably got to get better at that consistently. I mean, there's literally tools that write it for you. What am I doing?
It does happen. It does. Yeah. Those things do exist. Those things do exist.
I'm trying to resist that pull. Actually, I don't want to send out crap, but So go do that.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate you, man. We look forward to trying that cologne, and I bet it's going to yield.
Okay, can we do can we book an Ecom Cowboy reveal when it comes? I'll send you some. You can try it on the air. You can tell me if it's bad.
That's what I was seeding right now.
I was seeding. We'll do it. My co-founder can't really smell, so
that's crazy work.
Yeah. And he's the operations supply chain guy. So we've leaned on our wives for getting some help on
this smells good. We should just keep going with this one. It's great. Just there's no idea. Can't smell it at all.
Yeah. So it could be a real waste of time. We'll see.
Well, we will book it. You let us know when those samples are ready, and we're going to be ready to try it live online, my friend.
Okay, we'll do it. Great. You guys, we can come up with the ads right then. It'll be great.
We'll do it. Appreciate you, Andrew. Appreciate you, man. Wow.
Thank you, guys.
Really great.
I love that business model. I absolutely love that business model.
What a great conversation. I feel like that guy was juiced with caffeine to the gills. I mean, did you hear how fast he was talking?
He tumbled me up. He tumbled me up a couple times.
I mean, brother,
and I feel like I'm usually high.
I mean, I've had, I'm probably on I'm probably close to 300 milligrams today so far. Yeah. But whatever Andrew is on, I want. Maybe it's some secret mix of peptides. I don't know, but I'm into that game as well, Andrew. If you ever launch a SUPS game, we have got an incredibly exciting guest coming in here on the show. But before we get to him, we need to talk about Postscript. Ladies and gentlemen, focus is an amazing thing. And whenever you focus, you get outsized results. It's not like what Andrew was just talking about as far as being in the ad account, driving revenue with every dollar. Postscript is the same way when it comes to SMS. They are the only partner in our game whose aim is to make SMS your #1 revenue generator. They will take that dare. And I remember their president, Alex Beller, calling me on the phone and telling me this. And I'll just give you the results. On average, people see a plus 22% increase in revenue when you make the switch to Postscript. I didn't see that. We went from making very little money at all on SMS to being a top 1% account on their entire platform. Go to postscript.io/SMS-benchmarks. What you're going to get is a great data set on my vertical, my revenue band, what's normal for me to be doing with SMS, and how can I get upwards from here. Many thanks for Postscript being part of the show. Make them your SMS partner today. Now, we have an incredible human being coming in here. Not only is he a 6-time Ironman, okay? He is unbelievable, okay? He's founder and head coach at Tribal Training, community-driven executives, getting the body and the mind right to go and thrive, not only on the course of play, but also inside of the boardroom and at home. And now he is stepping into the CPG game as well. I'm talking about Maple Boost. Please welcome to the show, Ryan Dreyer. Ryan, get in here. Get inside of this show, brother.
Yeah. Let's go. Let's go.
Ryan, I'm having trouble hearing you, Ryan. Ryan,
yeah, Ryan, can you push up your
mic?
Hear you.
There may be something with the mic going on, brother. Man, I can hear it just barely.
Any better here?
Oh yeah. Perfect. Oh, you're there now.
Okay. We're old school. I got the mic here, but something's up with that. But that intro was great, man. Thank you guys so much for having me. I am so excited to be here. This is just a sick opportunity. I've been enjoying the show. I've watched a couple episodes recently. And when we got connected on Twitter, I was like, damn, man, this is God's timing. Let's jump in.
All right, let's go, baby. Let's go, man. Brother, we love what you're doing. I would love is if you would just set the background scene for our audience. For those who don't know you, man, I'd love you to give some perspective on your own athletic story. Man, what you do at Tribal Training and how that has led you, man, to develop this product that I would assume not only you're enjoying using, but the rest of the athletic world needs to see, hear, and taste.
Yeah, man. No doubt. So I live out in Boulder now. I'm married. Beautiful. I got 2 kiddos. I just got my first daughter. Second kid was just born last week. So
congrats.
That's current state. But my athletic journey, I guess, in the endurance sense, really starts back in like 2019. I was living in Philly. That's where I'm from. And I was working a really normal sales job.
Yeah.
And I just kind of hit that mid-20s wake up call where I'm just like, this is just not the life that I was meant to live, where I'm just kind of mailing it in at work, but doing well and kind of giving up on my fitness and mindset related goals, going to the gym, but just finding myself quitting on myself really often. And I always had these ambitions to be an entrepreneur or start a business, but I came from a background, kind of like a middle-class white collar kind of background where it's like, well, you should have a business model. You should have all these different things built out and framed out before you got to go build something. And so that really held me back. And, I basically had gotten this new job and I walked in on the first day and I was just like, this cannot be what the next 20 years looks like. This cannot be what the next 20 years looks like for me. And so it was around that time that I had started to learn a little bit about endurance, and I was really interested in triathlon specifically. I had heard of Cam Hanes, Courtney Dowalter, Jesse Itzler. Those were some people that really caught my attention. Those people did more trail running, but I really liked how they all did it in their own style. I was like, this is really interesting. I don't have to be like a pro athlete to go do this stuff. And I ended up signing up for a 70.3, and that set on this trajectory to follow this endurance path that has just totally taken over my life. And that 70.3 goal, I kind of thought it was going to be like a one and done type of thing. I had no vision beyond it. I had never even comprehended how I could do an Ironman. But through that process, I had a bunch of ups and downs in the prep of that first race. I ended up breaking my ankle playing ice hockey. The pandemic happened, so there were really no races. So it took me a couple of years to even get to do my first race. And in that process, I was like, damn, man, this is the first time that I haven't quit on myself. This is the first time I feel like I haven't quit on a goal that I've set. And that allowed me to start sharing online and start building a little bit of a presence and get into some side hustles. Because it was like, damn, man, if I'm not quitting on myself in this one area, let me just apply that over here and see what I can build. And my first side hustle was sewing dog bandanas in my basement in Philly.
There we go, baby.
Oh, I love that.
Got into 10 local dog shops in Philly.
Wow.
Got on Amazon FBA. Didn't really scale it too much, but it was at least something that I'm like, damn, man, this is mine. This is me. It really helped me break free of, just the expectations of other people and the upbringing that I was, trying to follow this narrow path of get a sexy LinkedIn title, right? That was pretty much what I was after. And the dog bandana business helped me break free of that. And so in the process of starting to share about that business and then share about my training, I had people who come hit me up to learn a little bit about getting into endurance, how they could do
Yeah.
it. And that opened me up to online coaching. And at that time, that first e-com biz that I had, I ran into just the problems of cash flow off the bat. Like I was running into, hey, I got off, you know, I did Alibaba, throwing down $5,000 on inventory and not really knowing how marketing works or Amazon AdWords or anything like that. And so then I started to see like, okay, well, coaching, you know, there's not really a lot of cost behind that. And I could get paid a couple $1,000, like real cash flow right away. So I shifted the business model to that. And over the past 4 or 5 years, I've been building what has become Tribal Training, which is basically an endurance team for everyday dads who are former athletes, who want competitive athletic goals, but who also want to be like really strong family leaders, want to kick ass professionally, want to push themselves physically. But we're not training 15 or 20 hours a week like pro athletes. Like I got guys doing this stuff on 7, 8 hours a week, maybe 10, maybe 12, but also some guys like 3 or 5. And getting creative with ways that we can do 70.3s, Ironmans, 50Ks, 50 milers, all these types of big mental unlock events, doing them on a structure that fits to support the professional goals, support the family goals, support the personal development through it all. You know, that's pretty much what I jam on and what I've been up to, and what I've been building over the past couple of years. Tribal is an entirely online community and team, but we have about 4 in-person events that we do a year, typically a couple ultras, a couple 70.3 and Ironman. And so we've got chances for guys to get together and jam out on just like stepping into our full power as, you know, masculine family leaders and ride that wave through daily life.
Love that.
Chris, I think we should just run a 70.3 together. I think that's our next step as a show. You know what I mean?
You know,
that's our next step.
So I will say, I played football and I had I had success in its own kind of way, you know, when it came to football. But I will say what has always been like a mental kryptonite in the back of my mind is endurance. Anything that takes many hours or a long time, you know, even, you know, I remember like in college, one of the big milestone workouts was like, okay, you have to jog now for 30 minutes. You know, like, I mean, football guys are used to sprints, you know what I'm saying? So, I mean, even just 45 minutes, you know, would be lengthy for me. But you're taking guys and, man, you guys are doing ultra marathons, you're doing Zion 100, et cetera. I would imagine just getting through that mental block of that's a really high number. I would imagine that extends to, I would imagine getting through that extends to success in other places of your life. And probably while you're doing that and helping people do that, you realize, hey, you know what would be really helpful is I get out, I need a sachet of maple syrup. I need top tier maple syrup to suck down while I'm on these things. I mean, is that the case? Is that the case, Ryan?
Yeah, man, exactly. So, you know, so much of this stuff is curiosity driven. So it's like the first thing is like, ooh, what if I could do a 70.3? Right? It's like I can't even think about an Ironman, but it's like, what if I could do a 70.3? And then you get through that, and then it's the, well, what if I could do that? Then you see people creating online and sharing and writing and building a brand, and I'd say, well, what if I could do that too? And then, you know, that expands to the way that you can design your life and future things that you can build. And for me, that has turned into Maple Boost, which is I got right here. So, you know, I mentioned that early in my endurance journey, I was living in a way that I didn't really like. Yeah. And part of that early transformation was a massive diet overhaul. One of the first things that I did when I was starting to create content online is I did this carnivore versus plant-based diet challenge where I did carnivore for January, and then I did all plant-based for February. And I was getting really into like carnivore Twitter and all kinds of, you know, grass-fed, regenerative, all that kind of stuff, right? And the initial idea was to really like show some good blood work results, get testing, use my Whoop, and have carnivore crush plant-based. I was like trying to get, you know, this is like the height of the Beyond Meat stock is at its all-time high. And I'm like, this is all fake, no way. But what ended up happening with that challenge was actually I shifted the plant-based to, instead of it being about not eating like fake meat, it was, I want this all to be single ingredient stuff.
I see.
And so I had 2 months back to back where it was like only carnivore, no processed junk in January. And then in February, it was nothing, like the ingredients out of the bag, right? The almond butter needs to be almond butter, not almond butter, and canola oil and added sugar and all this other junk. And so that completely unlocked my mind on like, okay, well, when you look at a nutrition label, it's actually not as important what the calories are. It's way more important what the ingredients are.
That's interesting.
So I had this transformation was happening for me physically. I had lost like 30 pounds, and I'm starting to realize, well, when I'm going to do my training, all these products are full of these emulsifiers.
It's true. It's true.
Additives. And I'm like, dude, this makes no sense. Like the healthiest moment of my day when I'm exercising, expending energy, I'm supposed to be putting in all of this junk. And so I was like locked in, committed to real food fueling. And dude, it got crazy. I was like doing bike rides. I got my family honey bear in my freaking bike jersey. I got bags of dates on trail runs. Like I'm going through all these freaking hoops. And I'm making it work, but I'm like, dude, there's no way that the average guy, like I'm a little bit of a nut on this stuff. Like I got some madness to me. The average guy's not going out and doing this. And I'm like, okay, still, I'm willing to put in this work and I'm willing to make this happen for myself. I'm doing like blenders. Before my first 70.3, that first race, my freaking kitchen looked like a smoothie station. I got like a blender with coconut oil and freaking almond butter and bananas and honey and all this stuff. And I'm making it work. But then I run into what is the real problem. And that is that real food, as much as it can fuel you for endurance training, give you the calories, it has like no sodium. Bananas, honey, even maple syrup plain. It has like 1 or 2 milligrams.
Yeah, it's like electrolytes. You're not getting any electrolytes.
Think about an element. It has 1,000 milligrams of sodium in one element stick, right? That's like the most common electrolyte for people who are hip to this stuff, right? A banana has 1 milligram. So it's like, well, now I have all this. And in endurance, man, you got to cut down on the stuff you need, right? It's so easy as a beginner. You're like, well, I need this, and then I need this, and I need this. And there's some like safety that you put into you put your trust in needing more things. If I just have this extra pack, if I just have this extra thing of gear, if I just have these freaking earplugs to swim. And I hit a point where I'm just like, dude, I need less. I need to be more reliable for myself, right? As I'm going through these mental breakthroughs of going through these big endurance events. And so what I ended up starting to do on my own was these homemade pouches of maple syrup with added sea salt. Because I was like, listen, maple syrup, honey works, but I was realizing that in the winter, honey freezes. So it doesn't really come out of of whatever pouch you got it in. It doesn't come out of the honey bear. So I'm like, maple syrup, better viscosity. Let me add in some sodium, some salt, right? Standard Himalayan pink salt from Costco is what I started with.
Love it.
And it started to be the main thing that I would fuel with. And I was loving it because it would not only like fuel the workouts, but it would sit super light on my gut. Like so many guys in the endurance space are pushing like 500 calories an hour and trying to max out. And like, there's some science behind that, but for the average guy and for what my goals are, right? To keep pushing myself creatively, building businesses, be the family leader I want to be on top of my mindset. I don't want to be running around with a freaking stomach full of bagels. I want to be feeling light and lean and fast and freaking tactical.
Yeah, baby.
And so the maple syrup, I'm like, dude, this is sitting super light. And then the real unlock was that I'm like, not only does it fuel the training and sit light on my gut, but like when I'm fueling well, it's keeping my hunger and my energy levels stable throughout the rest of the day. So when I come back for dad duty and I got to jump in on bottle feeding or taking my kid to his swim lessons or running to the park with my kids, like I got energy to do all that stuff even after multiple hours of training. And so all of that has really come to life. And back in October, you know, I'm fortunate enough. A lot of times you mentioned some of the executives that I work with. You know, I'm really blessed that inside of Tribal, I help guys, right? We do these endurance events, and then our conversations evolve to stress management and what's going on in your professional life. And so I've been able to step into executive coaching. And one of my mentors and somebody that I coach and who supports me as well is this guy named Josh Payne. And he's always brainstorming with me on how I can get to the next level, right?
Yeah.
He's been sprinkling into my mind supplements for the longest time. And right, he's like, look around at the guys that are doing this stuff big and look at the ways that they scale beyond just trading their time for money. And he was like, number one thing though is that it's got to be true to you. It's got to be true to you.
Yeah.
And number two is that you got to get the delivery mechanism right. And so that is what I've been experimenting with and launching with over really the past, I'll say 8 months, because back in the summer, I tried a version 1 that ended up flopping hard. And I pivoted then to this version 2. This has gone through a bunch of packaging evolutions, but basically just sticking to what's true to me, maple syrup with added sea salt. This is 100% pure Vermont maple syrup. There's a farm, LL Bean style in Vermont, that makes this stuff. This is not some Chinese manufactured sugar crap. This is like, right, we got this lady Dawn is my connect at the farm, and she's hitting me up and giving me all kinds of tips, and pretty much just fueling this with what now has 5 times the amount of sodium of even a standard gel. Wow. So this is almost becoming like a hybrid product between the traditional carb mixes that people would use that have all that added extra crap that typically have the carbs and the sodium. And then in endurance fueling, the gels, right, typically give you the carbs, but they've got all the extra crap too, but they have like no sodium. And so Maple Boost here is really bridging the gap on both those while staying as real food fuel, aligned with lifestyle, and fueling, you know, the everyday guy who wants to go do big things without adding a bunch of crap to his life, and having energy to show up for his family and build a business the way that he wants.
I love that. I love that so much.
Thanks for letting me roll on that.
I'm glad you did. Go, Colin.
I mean, Ryan, I think you're talking about like this new version of a dad that a lot of guys are aspiring to be, where it's like, you know, you had that joke dad in the sitcoms where he's just like not doing anything. He's making jokes. It's like very much like Family Guy, where, you know, he's the Peter Griffin. And I think there's this new version of dads that you represent. And I think a lot of my friends that I talk to are trying to be, where it's like, I'm trying to be there for my family. I'm trying to be there, you know, very religious, trying to be there for the Lord. I'm trying to be successful in business. I'm also trying to be healthy. I'm trying to, you know, do awesome things within my community as far as, you know, athletes and all of that. How did you get this mindset? Because, man, I'm telling you, not a lot of guys have your mindset, because when I talk to a couple other guys, they're like, yeah, I'm doing this, blah, blah, blah. You have a very different mindset, and it's super refreshing.
Oh, I appreciate it, man. Thank you. I'm aligned with everything you just shared. And, you know, to me, there was definitely a world where I'm just going down like this very standard Northeast corporate sales guy role, and I'm making money and I can buy the house my family needs, but I'm kind of living for the weekend every weekend, and I'm spending all my time on DraftKings, and, you know, I'm doing all these kind of energy draining habits. And, you know, I feel very blessed because it's always been like just seeing one other person doing something and me just being like, what if I could do that? What if I could do that? Right. And that even started with me just seeing guys online building and creating, and me realizing like, I don't have to be a Cam Haynes, or I don't have to be somebody who's like made it. I can be the guy who's just a couple of steps ahead. And I've felt that both in endurance training, in content creation, in business building. And as that has stacked, as I've continued to do these endurance events, that's like the truth of what's been consistent in my life. Like, I have done an Ironman every year for the last 6 years.
Awesome.
I just did Ironman World Championships in Nice, France in September.
Oh, baby.
Like, I've accomplished these things that I never even thought I would attempt.
Wow.
And those big events have also been like supplemented with like smaller local events, you know, along the way, where I'm sleeping in my same bed and I'm home by 10 a.m. And that like athletic identity is so true to me. Like, as a kid, I played every sport. I was a great athlete when I was young. I grew a little late in high school, so my athletic career started to fade a little bit then, and I didn't play any sports in college. But I always felt like, dude, my dream is to be an athlete, and that has really been the driver of like every day I have this opportunity, even in the swim that I did this morning, to like show up for myself and punch through and do the thing I said I was going to do. And I feel that even on like the 45-minute run, when my mind is trying to get me to quit at 32 minutes, and it's like, dude, just a little bit more, and getting that finish line every single day. Over time, it's created this mindset where I'm like, dude, I think I can have it all. I don't think I have to sacrifice.
You know what I'm hearing when you talk, Ryan, just philosophically, is that it reminds me a lot of Eric over at Beard Brand. Really, the foundation of everything that they do is getting to a place where you love and respect the man in the mirror looking back at you. And that foundationally, that kind of philosophy at a foundational level, then it just becomes like adding things that really help people get there on their journey on top of that. And I feel like your philosophy and your foundation is so strong there. And to me, this product, it seems like it's going to be a real help in getting people there, getting into endurance and, growing in their endurance athletic experience. And especially for the demo that you've mentioned, which I have felt so strongly. I've got 4 kids. And you can just easily slip into this kind of dead dad mode where you're just working and you hate it and you don't even like what you're doing on the weekend that much, but you want to be there for the family. I think what I wish and I want to see happen in 2026 or 2027, I want to see these maple syrup packets that are infused with that delicious sea salt. I want to see this get into the hands of every endurance creator that exists. I want to see them get that thing. And I want to see them sucking on it while they're going down the road and making their content. I want to see that. Can we make that happen, brother?
Yeah, dude, listen, I appreciate it, man. Thank you for the belief and the vision. That's the mission right now. I was just at Brian Mazza's HPLT event here in Boulder a couple weeks ago, just getting in rooms like that. And I think what's really exciting for me, bringing it full circle on my journey, is that when I got into e-com in the beginning, I didn't have the awareness or the wherewithal of what steps I needed, what people I needed to be connected with, what relationships I needed to build, what strategies, right, to get this thing in the hands of people who will value it and who are aligned with the mission. And so that's what's going on right now. I got a couple of really exciting calls this week to hook up some partnerships. But yeah, man, it's been very awesome that I've been able to use the tribal team, right? I got 60 people inside the team that have been the starter launch of it. And then it's also scaled, I've been building online. So I have, a decent number of little followers on Twitter,
love it.
From my perspective. And so, to see orders scaling beyond just people that know me or that connect with me is super exciting. And really just being core to who we are, right? And realizing that this product helps guys. It doesn't just help guys fuel well, but it also helps them avoid traps that keep tripping them up, right? You think about the guy I talk to a lot of guys, they're always trying to train fasted. They're always trying to lose the extra 5 or 10 pounds, and they train fasted in the morning. But then all of a sudden, because they're worn out, they got no energy later in the day and they crash. And then they're binging on food, and then they don't have energy for their kids. And so for me, it's a lot about like, hey man, how did I end up doing 6 Ironmans, right? I didn't do it on training for 30 hours a week. I did it on doing 10 hours a week for years and years and years.
Wow.
And so consistency and the fueling in what we're putting into our bodies from an ingredient standpoint, like this is how we live out day to day, the men that we want to be.
Wow.
Man, Colin, I think we got to get Ryan connected with anyone and everyone that we know in the Denver, Boulder area as far as DSC is concerned.
Absolutely.
And then Ryan, we got to find a way to get you down here to Austin, Texas sometime, brother, or the Triangle, or we can make it to Charlotte, North Carolina. I mean, we can find our way out that way. But man, we got to get you down here, and we got to get you deeply connected with everything and anything that's going on in e-commerce, especially in the Denver, Boulder area. We got to do that.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, dude. It's super exciting. Coming off that summit, there's a couple of connections that I made with people that are in those 2 spots, but I know that those are like hot spots. Those are hot spots to keep just growing with. There's a brand, Noble Origins, down in Austin.
Oh
guys. I'm
exactly.
I've been on their show, so they're giving me some good tips. Harry's a subscriber of Maple Boost. There
we go, man.
There we go, Harry, man, at Meat Mafia and Noble Origins. But yeah, man, this is the mission.
Awesome,
and
man.
I just thank you guys so much for giving me the platform here to speak on this, because this is really what it's all about for me, is getting to connect with guys, and you guys are giving me a boost here to share more about this today and just to get a little love on the mission.
Well, we appreciate you. We appreciate what you're doing. And man, we just promise us that you will come back and we can get the update on where we're going with Maple Boost, man, because I think you've got the foundations of something that are going to grow and grow very quickly.
Thanks so much. Really appreciate it.
Wow. Appreciate it, Ryan. Man.
All right. Adios, guys.
Ooh. I guess that's some heat today. Trying to put it down. It's so hot today.
Ryan's got founder energy, baby. He's dripping in founder energy.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it that it's so core to him as well.
It is.
You have that kind of founders that can have endurance because the mission is so core to who they are as people. God, that's awesome. That's so sweet.
He reminds me a lot of Eric when he talks about, helping other men in the age and stage of life that they're in. And I mean, that's really what came to mind is it's loving and respecting the man that's in the mirror who's looking back at you and getting to where you can genuinely love and respect that man looking back at you in the mirror. And doing it via endurance sports. Hey, you know who else he should connect with? He should connect with our guy at Impossible in Austin as well. I'm sure they already know each other.
It's crazy you're forgetting a main one here that immediately who reminded me of him.
Well, I was thinking of Bart, but who were you thinking of?
Dean.
Well, yeah, of course, right? Well,
they're in the same space.
Here's what I was going to say, though. I don't know what the result of his experimentation was on the carnivore side,
All right.
I mean, it sounded like at first when he was telling the story, I came out a whole lot better on the plant-based, and that's a no-go for Dino. That's a no-go for Dino. It's a no-go. But that being said, I don't know that was the case. And he for sure should connect with Dean. They've got that very ancestral primal health, all natural. They've got the same vibe going there.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We got to get him to Austin, Texas. Ryan Dreyer, everyone. Wow. What a great guy. Before we move forward to our last handful of stories for the day, let's talk about Seguno, ladies and gentlemen. Seguno is the only marketing suite that lives entirely inside of Shopify. Why is that important? It means your emails and your banners and your reviews and all of that. It lives where you work and play every day. And that's important because your Shopify data is your email data. You don't have to rely on some duct tape integration that you hope is genuinely syncing back and forth and giving you accuracy. You want Shopify to be your commerce OS layer. You want your data living there in the age of AI. This is a big reason why Seguno won the 2024 Shopify Build App of the Year, because they have taken such a unique approach to bringing everyone into email 3.0. If you don't have a full-time email marketer on your team, Seguno was designed for you. It was designed for lean teams with big aspirations. One-click automations, actual humans who can help you. Go to Seguno.com. You can do a free trial. If you tell them that Colin and I sent you, they'll extend that free trial of 30 days. Go to Seguno.com. Many thanks for them being part of the show. Now, Colin, there is a very interesting phenomena among us known as Casey's. And it's hard to tell whether Casey's is the new gas station behemoth that is swallowing the Midwest and all of small town America, or if it's just a great pizza restaurant that happens to sell gas on the other side. And I wanted to bring this up because I think there's a lot of takeaways for us here, focusing on a specific niche, actually having something that may not even be your main draw, that actually is the reason why people love you so much. They've got 2,900 stores. They've done 1.6 Bs in non-fuel quarterly sales. That's just quarterly. 1.6 Bs, 500 stores added in the past 3 years, cult-like Midwest following. And it is their pizza, ladies and gentlemen, that everybody knows and loves. Can I read you a little bit of this, Colin? Does this interest you at all? Have I piqued your interest?
Absolutely. This reminds me of another Austin, Texas gas station. We'll get into it.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does. Okay, listen to this. The Iowa-based chain has about 2,900 stores in 19 states selling gas and grocery items, as well as pizza, donuts, and sandwiches. But the pizza is really what sets it apart from the crowd. News outlets have described it as having a cult-like following and being a staple of Midwest culture. Casey's in the midst of another growth spurt. Ended October 13% increase from the year before. They just acquired Cefco, and for close to $1 billion, giving it 198 additional stores in Texas, Alabama, Florida, Mississippi. Okay. Now listen to this. The chain's identity is centered largely around its pizza, which has been making in stores for 40 years. Pizza is central to our culture, and it's really about delivering quality, Brennan said. For people who are not from the Midwest and aren't familiar with the brand, initially when they hear gas station pizza, wah, wah, they're like, well, that doesn't sound so great. But actually, we are a restaurant that also happens to sell gas. Another key aspect of the Casey's brand is that it focuses largely on small towns. I love this. Focuses largely on small towns.
Huge.
2/3 of Casey stores are in towns of 20,000 people or less. I love this. And almost half of them are in towns of 5,000 people or less, according to Brennan. He said the company plans to continue to target similar areas within a 500-mile radius of each of its distribution centers in Iowa, Indiana, and Missouri. Okay, give me your impressions on this. I love that they are bringing high-quality food, a high-quality product to a place that most people have completely forgotten about, are not thinking about whatsoever. They're coming in the form of a gas station, but actually what they are is a restaurant, and bringing it to quote, quote, forgotten flyover places that other people aren't competing in. I love this so much. And I think there's takeaways for us in the e-com D2C world. Your impressions?
Yeah, absolutely. This reminded me of another darling gas station company that you know of, I'm sure. It's called Buc-ee's.
Yeah,
man. Buc-ee's is incredible. And this reminds me exactly of that, where Buc-ee's is so much more than a gas station.
It is.
There's incredible food in there. You can get sliced meats in there. You can get roasted nuts. You can get all this crazy stuff inside of Buc-ee's. You can get merch, where they've kind of built this thing out where it's more of a brand, so to speak, than just a gas station. And I think that's what's being applied here, but it's just centered around pizza instead of where Buc-ee's, I think, is traditionally around meat and a little bit about the stuff involving, popcorn and nuts and all of that. I think they just ripped and replaced that playbook and are starting to build that cult following by doing it really in those smaller communities and just serving those communities extremely well.
Extremely well. I mean, think about this. Where are you going to get great pizza in a 5,000 person town? Does that exist? No, it doesn't. But they've found a business model that works for getting inside of those places where their competition is not, and absolutely crushing with quality. And they found a way to scale that. I think this reminded me of our conversation with John Shanahan from TRX when he came on the show. We asked him, hey, man, TRX, the straps, all the things. His first statement was that we are an education company.
Yeah.
That was his first statement.
Yeah.
We are an education company. People know us for the straps, but actually what we are is we are an education company. And here's how we're using AI to amp up what we're doing in the education realm. And so I think if people can take a step back, Google Earth out, they can consider their industry or consider their niche or consider their core customer. There have to be other personas or other products or other ways that their competitors are they have not found a way, haven't considered it worth the time to step in and meet needs inside of that niche. I know that was the case in travel baseball. And one of the previous companies I worked at, Bruce Bolt, they made a glove that genuinely did not rip as much as others. And guess what? They charged 3 or 4 times the price for it. And people were happy to pay for it. They were happy to pay for it. Okay. And so I think everybody inside of our industry, just take some time to think, are there places that are completely neglected inside of my vertical right now? How can I find a way to step in with a product or education or community that gives me a competitive advantage against every other player in our space? I love this from Casey's. I think there's a lot of lessons to take away.
Man, we just had Ryan on the show, and now you're making me want to have delicious pizza, donuts, and coffee. You know what I mean? We just had him on the show. We're talking about health. We're getting into a healthy mood.
Yeah.
Now I want some pizza. Now I'd like to have some pizza for dinner.
Yeah. Well, speaking of pizza and burgers, I'm not sure if this is a dystopian story or if it's the next big breakthrough in getting better. I'm talking about Burger King. Burger King has developed an AI as an all-seeing or all-hearing AI, so to speak. That reminds you of the Lord of the Rings, because it does for me. The all-seeing AI to check if employees say please and thank you. Burger King is now using AI to literally correct employees in real time. Okay. Their AI, whose name is Patty, I believe. Yes, Patty is living inside of their headset and is correcting them when they don't say please and thank you, when they deviate from the script. And employees are actually asking Patty questions. Patty, how many bacon slices go on this particular burger? I forgot. You know, I mean, so number one, it's cool. Okay. Number two, I don't know that I would want this to take place. Okay. But nevertheless, it is happening. I'm going to read some of this to you. This comes to us from The Verge. And Burger King is launching an AI chatbot that will live in the headsets used by employees, voice-enabled chatbot called Patty. It's part of an overarching BK assistant platform that will not only assist employees with meal preparation, but also evaluate their interactions with customers for friendliness. Okay. This is not just AI for processes. This is AI for eval and for work scoring, rating, etc. Obviously be used for promotions or demotions or see you later. T-Balt Rowe, Burger King's chief digital officer, tells The Verge that the company compiled information from franchises and guests on how to measure friendliness, resulting in fast food chain training its AI system to recognize certain words and phrases. Welcome to Burger King. Please, thank you. Managers can then ask the AI assistant how their location is performing on friendliness. This is all meant to be a coaching tool, Rowe says, adding that the company is iterating on capturing the tone of conversations as well. AI-powered Patty serves as the voice of the BK Assistant platform, which combines data across drive-through conversations, kitchen equipment, inventory, and other areas of the Burger King business. Tell me your thoughts on this. Is it dystopian? Is it incredible for managers? Or is it both? What do you think of this?
Yeah, Chick-fil-A is furious they didn't come up with this first. because if you're not saying my pleasure at Chick-fil-A, they basically kidnap you and throw you into a car and say, hey, you need my pleasure 15 times. This is great. I love this. I think this is great for the macro business that is BK. And you know, it's really, you pull out a ton of insights when you start to ingest a ton of conversational data. We had Alex Beller, Postscript, on the show.
Yeah.
And we're talking about the through lines and the trends that you get from conversational data. This is basically that, but they're just going to convert it. They're just going to convert it to a text. And so you now have basically benchmarks and kind of this macro how your business is doing from a sentiment analysis that you could pull on a weekly, daily cadence and back into this and probably just vibe code out a nice little sentiment analysis on how employee morale is.
You know, that is a great point about the conversational data. That's a great point. This is taking what would normally be captured via a text message with your customer, but now it's like you can hear employee and customer interactions that are happening. AI is getting that, evaluating sentiment, recording that. There's gonna be all kinds of learnings from that.
Yeah. That's interesting conversations too.
Probably some conversations maybe you didn't want to hear. Also, it reminds me of the tool that Dean was on here Friday talking about that he developed, Ellis, and it evaluating his performance, giving him critical feedback for, hey, didn't follow through on this. Hey, voice stronger on this. Hey, clarity here, etc. But this is like applied across the entire network of your employees, deployed across the entire company. I just, it makes me, I don't want, here's what I don't want. I don't want Big Brother spying on me. That's what I don't want. Okay. I don't want like Big Brother listening to all of my conversations and giving me a friendliness score. You know, I mean, I get it. I totally get why this would be huge benefit to Burger King, huge benefit for scoring and training employees. I totally get that. But if I was inside of there and I knew that the robot was listening to everything that I said and giving me real-time corrections, I mean, golly, I would feel spied upon. Maybe that's the point though. I mean, you are working there inside of the company. You want to properly represent them. I guess that does make sense. It just gives me a little bit of pause about how much I could be spied on and we all could be spied on here in the future.
I think they will probably forget about it as they're wearing it. Like you probably just get used to it. And then you kind of forget that like, oh, this is logging every single thing. And there's probably going to be some interesting data pulled out of this where they're going to see correlation and causation on, hey, we have the morale of employees over here. It's like through the roof. Oh, and by the way, the revenue for these couple chains is going through the roof. And then we can also see as morale starts to go down for a store, which we're tracking through sentiment analysis, we can see the revenue actually slightly decline over time. And so now you're kind of seeing this like predictive model maybe bake out based off of your employee behavior.
Yeah, that's very interesting. That's very interesting. Colin, it's 1:27 Central Standard Time right now. Do you still got some time or do you need to go, my friend?
Let's dance.
Okay, let's dance. Let's dance. And as we dance, print books are back. Print books are back in a big way with Gen Z who knew they could actually read. That's a joke. Don't write any emails. Don't throw any tomatoes. That was a joke. Coach has a new campaign to, quote, explore your story with Gen Z in mind. And basically what they have developed, you see it on screen here right now, they have developed these classic print books that are Coach branded, that are Labubu-esque, and one can wear them on your Coach bag and show how analog and throwback and big brand you are because you actually read physical books and you can afford to buy the Coach travel version. Okay, Carson, if you will, play this video for us, just the first part of it. Do you have it, Carson? You may not have it. Well, I wish you did if you did not. But essentially what this is, and you'll see the commercials. You guys can look this up on Ad Age. Essentially, they are these kind of storified commercials where you see a cool Gen Z, early 20-something fashionable woman who is walking through, you know, the street, the city, going to work or coming back, or she's cozying up at home. She's arriving back from a dinner out. And what does she have rocking on that Coach purse? It's one of these trinket books that she's picking up and getting lost in as she travels in the subway and as she finds her way hither and thither. Okay, I think Carson has it for us here. Just play the first one for us here, Carson.
Chapter 3. She entered the library with no particular purpose, unless you count
fanning here.
Which she absolutely did not. A story with opinions had intercepted her.
Picking up a classic book.
Something shifted.
Getting lost in the story.
Eager to stay relevant.
Great visuals. Really good visuals here. Yeah.
Now look at it attached to that purse there. Okay, that's good, Carson. That's good. That's good.
That's bigger than I thought it'd be.
Yeah, it's pretty big, right? They're not tiny. They're not tiny. Like you can see them, like they are substantial, which it reminded me of the Labubu. You know, the Labubus are pretty big. You know, it's not like something you would mistake for a keychain.
Sure.
I think this is interesting because now we've got data on this. 68% of Zoomers prefer print when they're reading. I do too. Who doesn't?
Yeah.
This is in tandem with Penguin Random House Partnership. They're like mini readable book charms, but they're not that tiny. And I think it really leans into I am retro, I'm throwback, also I'm posh, and I've got the Coach version, and I read this while I'm on the way. I think there's a lot of great things about this. You like it or you hate it?
I absolutely love it, and not for those reasons. I love it for a community piece. And so you see a friend or you see someone on the subway reading this book, it's on their coach or whatever. Now it's a conversation starter. Now you
True.
can kind of make a friend and be like, I read that last month. What do you think about it? What do you think about the way Jacob's doing X, Y, and Z in the story and all of that? I like this because you're broaching people together offline. It's becoming, a analog thing. People are trying to find analog ways to kind of broach community even more. I love this. Great job. They did it in a really classy way. And the creative on that commercial, by the way, is absolutely fantastic. So this is a home run for Coach. They're on a good run right now.
It also, and I mean this when I say this, it kind of makes reading cool. It kind of makes reading cool and posh and upper class. I can see, well-to-do women dressed very nicely, and they've all got their own little books, and then, maybe, and then they go and get the other one. And I think that this is interesting, and I think they're riding some interesting waves while they're doing it. And it's totally in another realm from the, bookworm librarian kind of thought where, she's huddled away in a corner, and it's totally different from that. It's taking the benefits of reading and getting lost in a story, and it's framing it in this kind of unique, luxurious, fashionista type way that I think taps into community in a very interesting offline way. So I think a big win here. Big win here. Something to consider. Trends for Gen Z, and also how can we do something interesting that our culture values and apply it inside of our brand and do something different, but is also in tandem with our core product, the purse. What can we do in tandem with that? Very interesting, and I'm here for it. Before we get to our last two stories, let's talk about AMP. Ladies and gentlemen, if you cannot explain how your business is doing in a sentence or two or half a sentence, I'm not sure how your business is doing. What is your CAC? What is your LTV? How are you trending toward forecast up, down, left, or right? The wonderful thing about AMP and their favorite tool of mine, Lifetimely, is it allows you to know all of those crucial metrics in one place and space that's beautiful to look at and quick to get answers from. Don't you want to scale with confidence in 2026? I think that you do. We all do. If you don't know your numbers hard and fast, then you cannot scale with confidence. And what you got is a lot of headaches. Go to useamp.com. Test drive that tool Lifetimely. If you use Lifetimely, you get all their other tools for free, which are all designed to put profit back in your pocket. They're doing something really interesting with their AI over the next, I think we're like 10-day countdown now, that it is going to be prompting you, my friend, rather than the other way around. Hey, this cohort, this offer, this product, let's do this and that. Go to useamp.com, put some profit back in your pocket today. Many thanks for them being part of the show. Last two stories here, Colin. YouTube's co-founder has said 2026 may be it. YouTube co-founder says 2026 will be the last year humans do meaningful work. And I saw this comes to us from Kalshi, but I saw the tweet where he himself said it. Very interesting, given his background, and compelling. He's got a new business now that he is doing and developing that looks AI software associated. What are your thoughts when you saw this come up in the timeline over the weekend?
Yeah. So, I mean, YouTube is owned by Google now. And over the weekend, I kind of dove into the CEO of DeepMind, which is now owned by Google as well, which is kind of the last piece of AI. They're trying to basically cure all diseases and, fix everything. I think this is probably the last year of meaningful work for human beings. After diving into all of that, I think the exaggerated timeline is reducing so quickly that I think it's probably 2026, maybe 2027, maybe 2028, but we got like a couple years left. I really do think we're rapidly going down this thing.
Brother, do you really think that? You think that we're cooked, fam? Are we cooked?
Yeah, I think we're cooked from you're not going to have to do the work of that you don't want to do anymore. I think it's going to be a really interesting situation once we get to artificial general intelligence. And I think it's closer than we think. And once artificial general intelligence happens and that genie comes out of the bottle and AI is just doing its own thing on its own, I don't know what happens to us. Like, what is the use of humans for artificial general intelligence? Like, I don't. It sounds dystopian. It sounds sad. It's like, oh dang. Well, what happened? It's Skynet. But it's like, I was diving into this documentary over the weekend by this guy, and he's just like, this is the most important work by humans ever. AI is the most important work by humans of all time ever. That includes rockets. That includes going to Mars. AI is the most important. And we're about to go through some of the biggest AI breakthroughs in the next 6 months.
I am, I'm a little surprised. I'm a little surprised. This is, I mean, it's a little doomerish coming from you right now, which is not normal. It's not your norm.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think it's doomerish. It's just kind of, the writing is on the wall. The genie is not going back into the bottle. This is only moving so much quicker. AI can already beat a human being basically in every single game played possibly on Earth. Anything you want to play, an AI is going to beat you right now. Any game. And so we're approaching that where it's going to be like, hey, by the way, I cured this disease. I cured this disease. I cured this disease. And then it's going to be like, okay, cool. I can drive the car by myself now. I don't need you anymore. Okay, cool. I can build a house by myself. I don't need you anymore. You want me to shop for your groceries? Cool. I just shopped. I got you everything. I just dropped it off with like a little robot dog. I mean, it's just going quick.
Do you remember a few shows ago, not too long ago, I had this story about meat tasks. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Do you remember this about meat tasks?
Yeah.
You gotta wonder.
I know. It's going to be me in a cabin camped out with a full 12-foot long beard and
there we go.
And just firewood and an axe and just like ready. And I'll be calling all the robots clankers in a terrible form.
But I'm sure that Claude will have helped you make a great growing season plan for the year,
exactly.
And work in your garden. And, I think we'll probably be good on that.
Yeah.
Well, a very interesting take for you. Hey, we'll see. But I remain steadfast that the American dream is alive and well on the internet today. Still possible.
Yeah.
And I think this last story is a great example of that. Let's move to this. This is a post from one of our Whatnot TikTok reseller friends here, Braden. And this story is so inspiring. Okay. He is running his Whatnot and TikTok shop operation out of a storage unit. Okay. You see the storage unit on screen right now. He is running it with internet. He got Starlink. Okay. He got a generator. He is running the entire thing, bought a $300 power station. He's running the entire thing out of a storage unit. And I want to read you some of this post because it's so compelling and it's a little sweaty. And you know what? He's getting after it. You're looking at a $12,000 storage unit. He says it's not the Taj Mahal. Crafted with just a few pieces of sheet metal and some cinder block, I've turned this 10 by 20 space into a mini warehouse. I started live selling in January. No truck, no power, no heat. Just this empty storage unit right here for $156 per month. I bought a $300 power station and borrowed a friend's mini Starlink. Love that. A friend's mini Starlink for Wi-Fi. I'm still working on the heat. My sales have grown to around $500 to $1,000 a day. I receive, sell, and fulfill all from right here. A warehouse is on the horizon, but this is just proof that you don't need much to do incredible things in a short amount of time. If you want to see me scale my reselling business into the Taj Mahal, follow me at Braden Flack. Then you look at this picture. He's got his laptop. Okay. He's got his lights. You can tell he's live selling inside of there. Otherwise, he wouldn't have the lights. Now he's got a $300 generator and you can see his product. He's selling Built bars, probably from TikTok Shop and all kind of other things. I love this energy. There is a way. There is still a way. There is still a way on the internet today. And let's just call it. Let's be a little conservative. Let's say he's making $700 a day.
Yeah.
You know, that's not bad revenue for starting out with $156 costs. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And the fact that he borrowed the Starlink, I love that so much. I do. I love it. It makes me want to go get sweaty and sell something with a sweaty Texas face on TikTok Shop and whatnot. This is great. This is good energy. We need this. Inject this kind of energy into my veins. This is like Ryan. You know, Ryan's got this kind of energy, baby.
Yeah, this is the American hustle right now personified. This is, I'm not going to take no for an answer, and just I'm going to manifest destiny this thing no matter what. I mean, this is awesome. I fully respect this, and this is a great notch and a great story on the resume of this guy's life, where it's like, people have a really high locus of control. It's the ability to basically just take on everything as, I'm going to become super high agency. Everything in my power I can do. I'm going to try to change all of those things. This is a great example of that. This guy's super high agency. He's one of those guys where you plop him alone on a desert island and he's like, hey, what's up, dude? I actually built a fort and I have firewood going. I caught 6 fish. It's like, you want to chill? I built like a surfboard. These are one of those guys. That's awesome. You want high agency guys. I think Ryan is also one of those high agency guys where you're like, you drop him in the middle of the woods. He's like, yo, I ran 50 miles today and I had a 1 syrup pack. And you're like, we didn't ask you to do that, dude. You just did that. You're like, yeah, I got bored. Yeah. And so these people are awesome. Find these people, be around these people, and let these people infect you with their energy to become high agency. And that's how you win in 2026.
I'll also say this is future focused here. I know what could happen with AI and how, you know, could decimate many businesses and industries and all of the things. It's very real. That's why we cover it every day, because what's now and next in e-commerce is important, so everyone in our space can survive and thrive. What I will say, a lot of times, I know we all kind of look, sometimes we kind of look down on reselling. You'll pick it up, you know, and it not in the same way that like drop shipping is sometimes just like associated with like no shipping or like truly black hat or, you know, fraud behavior. I'm not saying all drop shippers are like that. I'm just saying general reputation, etc. Many times that can be the case. But I will say reselling, just imagine, put yourself in the future. Okay, let's just say there's UBI, and let's say many industries have been decimated. And you know what will be what will be valuable is being able to find something that was on resale, on discount, on whatever, and being able to bring that to other people. That is going to be valuable. Don't look down on reselling. Don't look down on it. And also get on Whatnot, because remember, it's BattleBox's #2 channel right now. So if you're not on Whatnot, you need to go make it happen. Whatnot's not just for reselling; it's for driving sales to your.com. And BattleBox is the BattleBox is the ultimate example of that.
I'm excited to use my 15 Mr. Beaks bucks to then take that and buy a resold thing, and then buy a slop bowl from my profits from the resold thing. And then maybe I get to, you know, turn the heat on in my house. That's exciting.
Hey, you know, it could be a very exciting future. That's what I'll say. That's what I'll say.
With more Mr. Beast bucks, please.
With 12-month beard having grown, you know.
Yeah, there you go.
Look good. You look good in a beard. So
thank you.
Look forward to seeing that on you. Many thanks to Andrew Faris and Ryan Dreyer for coming on the show. Many thanks to Incense, exciting new sponsor. Remember, this is, I mean, golly. Advertising is good, ladies and gentlemen, and Incense is going to help you. Go talk with them and get your creator influencer UGC program fixed. Many thanks to Seguno and Postscript and AMP, and we will be back tomorrow. We've got more exciting guests coming. I mean, we've got a lot to talk about this week. So, thanks for joining the show. We shall see you on the other side.